Hi everyone, Janie here with an introduction to pyrography, which is also known as woodburning, and happens to be my newest craft love thanks to the kit I got from my Adults in Crafts subscription. To start off, here are some of the supplies that came in my kit, and I'll put a link to that unboxing video right here on the screen, as well as on the screen as my video is ending. And as you can see, you're going to need a wood burning tool, and mine came with 4 different tips, and you are going to need some wood. You will also need some paper to print your image on, or you can draw it or stamp it, and you will need some carbon paper, or you can use a pencil for a tracing trick that I'm going to show you here in a bit. A pen will also come in handy if you're tracing. And a face mask is optional. It just depends on how much smoke comes from the wood that you use and how much it bothers you. But you should definitely do this in a well-ventilated area. And by the way, well-ventilated area does not mean that you have to have your windows open in the middle of winter or do it outside. It just means that you don't do it in a small enclosed area. And most areas in your home are already well-ventilated. And for you crafters that have stamps, that's an option that I'm going to be showing you later in the video. And as I mentioned earlier, you obviously are going to need wood, and I got this pack of wood squares from Amazon, and I'll put a link below in the description box. But this might be a good way to start out because it's inexpensive and it gives you many pieces to practice with and create with. And here is a list of a few woods that are good for pyrography. But if you Google it, you will find a variety of woods along with explanations as to which ones are better and why. And there are also a variety of tips, and these are the 4 that came with my wood burning tool and examples of the results that I got from each of them. And as a beginner, the cone tip and flow tip work best for me, and I think they would be best for any beginner to start with. And talking about starting, Winnie the Pooh was my very first attempt, and I'm quite pleased with how that came out. And Pooh and Piglet were my second attempt, and one thing I learned was that I was probably not quite ready for tiny details. And the love of Winnie the Pooh characters seems to run in the family, because here is my daughter-in-law's first attempt, and she did Eeyore, and here is her second attempt, and she actually did some painting along with it. Okay, are you ready to get started? Okay, I'm all ready to get started. I have my wood burning tool turned on and heated up. I have a piece of wood from that pack I showed you that I got from Amazon. I have a cute little image printed out and ready to go, and a piece of carbon paper that I'm going to be using for tracing. And my images that I'm using, I printed out from Cricut Design Space because I own these images through Cricut, and you can find your images online. You can Google them. You may have images around the house that you want to use. You may want to draw your own. There's a lot of options. And I have an extra image here, and I was going to show you really quickly that trick that if you didn't have carbon paper, take a pencil. I've already started on the back of this one, and just go over it with your pencil. And with this one, I really needed to just go around the outline because there wasn't really anything in the middle, but oh well. And when you do that, and I'm not going to do the whole image, but you do that, and that will act as a carbon paper for you when you do your tracing. And let me grab something really quick. Sorry, I didn't want to use a good piece of my wood just to show you a sample of how this works. But then you go around the edges after you've done the pencil on the back. You just trace your lines and be nice and firm about it. And I'm not going to trace the entire image here, but I'm just going to do that to show you that you can kind of see it there, that works for tracing. So if you don't have carbon paper, you just need a pencil. Okay, so I'm going to use these things right here, and I'm going to be using some Scotch tape. So I am going to line him up on here right where I want him. And then I'm going to take a piece of Scotch tape, and without going over my image, so let me pull it up here. I'll move him down a little bit. Without going over my image, I'm going to tape that paper right there, so it creates a hinge. And then I'm going to take the carbon paper and I'm going to stick it under there, and before I get going, I'm going to double check that my image is completely on the carbon paper. Whoops. And it is. So the plus is making this hinge allows you to lift it up and put it back down again to make sure that you are, getting everything traced. And so I'm going to go over this. With this pen, it doesn't matter whether the pen works or doesn't work, because you're just using it to create the pressure to do the outline. Now, I am not going to do this entire thing on camera, so I'm going to go finish this and I'll be right back to show you. Okay, I'm not done tracing, but I just wanted to show you how this works, where I can lift it up and go, oh, look at that. I forgot to get his eye and his nose. And so I can put it right back down and I can go back and get those. Okay, I have got him traced. I'm lifting it up to make sure I didn't miss something like an ear, an eye, and it looks like I got everything. So I am going to go ahead and remove that. And now we're ready to start the wood burning. And I think I'm going to bring the camera in a little bit closer. Okay, there we go. Just going to grab this and start following the lines. Now I'm pushing a little too hard, and that's something you have to be careful of. Like I said, I am actually a beginner myself, and so I'm just kind of showing you the basics. I am not a professional, so I don't want you to go, wow, like that's what it's supposed to look like. I'm just showing you, the basics on how to do this. And then get his little nose right there. And then you can do this and do a much better job of it than me. But there is a key, don't push too hard. And, it's better to push lighter. Like I started off definitely pushing too hard right there. So it's better to start off, lighter, and then get a little bit heavier if you need to, areas that you want, darker and deeper. So again, I'm not going to finish this entire thing on camera because it would take a long time. But I really just wanted you to see how this works. And you can tell, when I'm going lighter, it definitely is better. It's just smoother across the wood. When you push too hard, as you saw, it kind of got bumpy up here. And so you don't want to do that. But as you can see, as I'm going lighter, that it's working much better. And you can just go over it multiple times if you need to. Let me just show you how it looks so far. So yeah, I kind of overdid it up there. But again, learning from my mistakes is also part of learning. Because if I did this perfectly and didn't have any mistakes to show you, then you wouldn't learn what to do or not to do. You wouldn't have learned about not pressing too hard, and you wouldn't have learned about going, slow and easy, and all of those extra things that you're learning because of my mistakes. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this off camera. It's almost completely done now, but I'll be back not only to show you the finished project here, but also because I'm going to show you another way to get your image on here. So I'll be right back. Okay, there is that one. And here is my first one. And honestly, I think my first one came out better than this one. But part of the difference is also trying to do this on camera because I'm working around a camera, so I'm not getting this directly under me while I'm working on it, where this one I had nothing in my way at all. Now, let me show you another way to do this. For this technique, I didn't need to print anything out. I did not need to use any carbon paper or any tracing papers of any kind. I didn't need to use pens or pencils because, let me bring this over here, I used a stamp and I stamped it on there. And this is the ink that I used, which is Memento Tuxedo Black ink. You can use any ink that you have, and it doesn't even have to be black. You could use brown. Looks really great when you're wood burning. But I just stamped the image on there, and now it's ready to be burned. And you just do the same thing that we did with the other one. Just go right around those lines. And you could use different tips on this, and I'm actually thinking of coming in with a different tip and giving it a try here in a minute. But first I'm going around the outlines with the cone tip. It is my favorite, and sometimes you'll run into little bumps in the wood, and so that's what happened right there. And that's to be expected. It's best to keep your wood as smooth as possible. I didn't go over this and sand it. It's just another one of those pieces of wood from the pack that I got from Amazon. But sometimes it's best to go over and sand them. Whoops! And go outside the lines. Holy cow! Told you, I'm not perfect, but I'm just showing you techniques, and the main purpose for this was just to show you that you can stamp on these and do this. So I'm going to go ahead and again I'm going to finish doing the outlining off camera, and I'm going to come back with a different tip, maybe. That's the plan anyway. So I will be right back. Okay, I've got the outline done, and I thought, you know what, before I change tips, let's try a different technique with the same tip. So I'm going to try doing a little shading right here on the ribbon, just going at an angle. Okay, just like that. And there's different ways to do the shading, but I decided let's give this one a try. So that is what we're doing, just because all I've been showing you is outlining, which is fine, because after all, this is just an introduction to wood burning or pyrography. And so here we go. And so, you know, I didn't want to go crazy, but there you go. I just use little, you know, back and forth movements. You can use little circular movements. There are so many ways to create the shading and texture look and everything. So that is just one. Now I'm going to let this cool off and change the tip, and I'll be back. Okay, so I've changed the tip, and I wanted to tell you that if you've been using your wood burning tool, even if you think it's cooled off, you should use pliers to unscrew the tip. And what I wanted to show you is that the tip we've been using is the cone tip, and you can see that it's pointed, kind of like a pen or a pencil, and so that makes it really easy to outline things. And then the one that we're going to be using now is the flow tip, and so you can see that that is more rounded, and so that is what we're going to be using now. Oh, one more thing I want to point out. To keep your tips working really well, you're going to want to clean them after you use them, because the wood residue or ash actually builds up on these. And one way to do that is with a piece of sandpaper and just gently, wipe it along there. And you can tell when it's clean because it'll start looking a little bit shiny again instead of dull. But that's just one way. Another way is just literally cleaning it off with a damp paper towel. There's a variety of ways, but be sure to clean your tips to keep them working properly. Okay, let's give the flow tip a try. So my thought was, first of all, I'm not even sure I want to leave that as a star. I was thinking I wanted it to be a circle, a little ball at the end of his hat, but I'm going to start off just leaving it a star, I think, and just kind of fill in that center like that. And gosh, I was going to do his nose, but I'm not sure I want his nose to be black. But then again, I want to do something. Okay, I tell you what. Let's try doing the shoes. So I'm going to be really gentle, especially going right around that little curly Q area. And just get those shoes all filled in. Okay, I think I got it. I don't know. What do you think? How's it look? I think it looks good. Let me go around this one. I like the flow tip because it covers a wider area than the cone tip, but it's still really smooth and easy to use. So, like I said, those are the two that I think beginners should start off using, is the cone tip, which we were using first, and now the flow tip. So there we go. And that is the end of the introduction to pyrography. I hope this introduction has piqued your interest in wood burning and given you enough information to get you started. There's so much to learn, but it's mostly trial and error and practice, practice, practice. I'll have some product links below in the description box, as well as a link to Adults and Crafts in case you're interested in getting a subscription. Thank you all so much for stopping by, and happy crafting, everyone. Bye-bye.